Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melanie Tana, and I love stories of all kinds, and I especially love reading books. I'm trying to read them consistently so that I can talk about them, and today I'm going to be talking about some bookish opinions and what I think about these other people's opinions that are sometimes controversial, sometimes popular, that I found all across Reddit. For most of these opinions, I found comments that were often shared, opinions that are shared across the bookish community, and my thoughts on them. And yeah, I'm just going to talk about those. It'll be a little fun thing to try to get to know me as a reader, and yeah, just my perspective on some things. And I'm interested to see at the end of the video what you guys think about these opinions. We're going to start off with a chill opinion, and a lot of people, I realized, don't like the 5-star rating system for varying reasons. And a lot of people in conjunction with that say that places like Goodreads should also have a 0.5 option that we can add on to the stars, or just 0.5 in the first place, because sometimes it really just isn't a 4, it's a 3.5. It almost nailed it, but not quite. And I'm still surprised. I'm so surprised that they haven't done that yet. And I don't know what the reason is, but Goodreads is a little iffy for me anyway, so I'm not super surprised about that. I definitely agree with that. On other videos I've done, I've said that I think reviews are very arbitrary and that I have my own weird way that I talk about things, but that I can't always tell you if a book is good or not. I think the most effective review system is actually just however a person talks about a book. If the reasons why they liked the book are reasons why you like books you like, then you're probably going to like that book, if that makes sense. So I do appreciate it when people get specific, but if they just say it's a horrible book, don't read it, and they don't give me a reason why, or if they're like, I rated it 5 stars, but I don't know what kind of books they read, it really doesn't matter to me, And obviously that's not a for sure system, but it helps me decide what books I want to try that I'm not already aware of yet. But I overall agree with that statement. I think 5-star review system isn't quite efficient. A lot of readers on Reddit have stated that they're sad when other people say that they don't read. I totally get where this is coming from, because I personally was that person. And then, even in college I was annoyed with other people who were like, I don't read books. But in college, I hardly read fiction, other than maybe something that was assigned to me, and I would get through a book a semester. And while that was fair, I was busy. It was I get it, I think most people are talking about the type of person who's like, well, I don't read, or I haven't read a book since high school. And you sense that they're bragging about it. In reality, I think if they're talking to a reader, they're probably feel a little self-conscious, because readers can be kind of stuck up. So I think I don't really care about this so much anymore. I do wish I had something to talk about with people when they say they don't read. I would love to be able to discuss books with them, but it's just one thing they don't have in common, and there's a lot of things I don't have in common with other people that I don't berate them for or am a snob about. I do think reading is very good for me, but I don't read to be smarter than other people. I don't always read for the general intellectual benefits of reading. I will read to my kids one day, because I think that's very important. But reading is just, for me, fun. And yes, sometimes it's educational, and yes, I want to write books, so I'm always learning things, but I think we need to be careful on how we talk about people who don't read. Not that anyone on Reddit was particularly harsh or rude, but it's okay that people don't read. They just don't, sometimes. And so many of my friends who talk about not reading right now, honest to goodness, are so busy and so tired. By the time they can read, they can hardly pay attention because they're exhausted at the end of their busy days. So, gotta give the people some credit. Life is hard, and reading takes time, and it's okay that people don't do it. Kind of in conjunction with that, a common opinion people have is that it doesn't matter what you read, and I agree. As long as it's not hurting anybody, you're not reading the types of things that instill within you a motivation to do bad things, you're probably doing okay. People are so stuck up about either side of reading and very judgy about the books other people read. Even if you think someone is reading something for a stupid reason, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I think that opinion is just true. Like, I just want people to read because it is good for them and because they enjoy doing it. And actually, with my personal opinion, we need to not worry about that with kids too, because like a lot of people, the first books that they really get into are like Goosebumps or even Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I loved those books. And I think adults get worried that their kid's not going to read real literature. They'll get there. And if they don't, their brains will actually be okay. I don't think it super matters what books they're reading as long as they find something within their age group and they can go back or go forward or branch out. But reading consistently, I feel like is the most important thing. And being read to is a very good thing, I think, for kids. So let's just not, at any point in a person's life, bother them about what the books that they're reading. So that's just my opinion. I don't know. One person in particular said a thing I've heard all across the reading realm of readers. And that is that a lot of popular fantasy authors have horrible prose. And they specifically mentioned Brandon Sanderson, and so many people mentioned Brandon Sanderson. For the most part, I agree. A lot of, especially, I think, big book authors aren't as focused on prose. Sanderson's incredibly focused on magic and world building, as many people know. And honestly, that is what, in a way, got me back into reading. I hadn't really been reading for a while. I was slowly getting through The Lord of the Rings and I was thinking, I want something else. And my husband suggested Mistborn to me. And I picked up the first book and I thought, like I got through it so fast. I actually think his focus on more direct and less flowery prose helps. Now, I think he could benefit from a little more, a little softness with his prose, I think. Because things are so direct, sometimes I don't feel like I'm in a fantasy book, if that makes sense. Because the type of speech, the jargon even, feels more modern. And that's okay. I, again, think that helps move it along. But what I was surprised by this comment, and by a lot of comments, is that it makes these books for these people hard to read. And it makes the books boring to get through. And I think that I understand this because I think it just depends on what you prioritize. If you don't care too much about prose and you just want a good book with good characters and, in my case, good pacing that could catch me and get me back into reading, Sanderson is a great place to start. And recently, with his new introduction into his novel catalog, he has given us Tress of the Emerald Sea, Secret Project 1 of his 4 secret projects. And that book, he really dove into prose a little bit more, something he doesn't focus on. And I wouldn't say it's because he's bad at it, so I wouldn't give him that critique. It's just not something he has prioritized, and that's the detail that's important because he's writing so much. I don't think he could write as much if he didn't kind of sacrifice some things. But Tress, because of the narrator voice, is not like his other books and is a little, like, I'd say a lot better when it comes to prose, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. That's just how I feel about that. One person said this, and then a million other people had said this, that they feel like audiobooks are cheating, and that because it requires less effort to listen to an audiobook, and you're not reading with your eyes, and you're not building the world the same in your own head, that you're not, like, really fully experiencing it. I just disagree right off the bat. I get it. It is a different experience, but that does not make it a better experience. This is just a new way to process information. And just because you can multitask while doing it does not mean that you are not taking it in the same. It actually might benefit certain people who process information better auditorially. And I would be wary of saying something like that because you always have to take into consideration people who just can't read visually, who are visually impaired. I'd be curious. I haven't looked into this. I'm curious if multitasking while you listen to an audiobook actually takes away your ability to appreciate and build the world. Some voice actors have taken me out of a story, and that's okay. People who record audiobooks are not all the same, and people have different tastes in those voices and what they want to hear, especially if it's a book they've already read and they're listening to it and they're like, that's not that character. I can understand being annoyed by that. But audiobooks are not cheating. They're just a different format. And once again, I have to briefly mention the critique of YA literature. It's good sometimes, just like adult literature is good sometimes, and the YA label is simply a marketing tool. And so many young people are so smart and so aware of the world around them that we can't discredit them for being immature or whatever. They just care about different things than a lot of adults. Recently I read The Last Quintista and I loved it. I have a video on it. It was amazing. Tress of the Emerald Sea, I would argue, is YA literature or is marketable to that genre. It's written for all Sandra fans, but it is a beautiful book, a beautiful story about a young woman, a 16-year-old girl. And it's fantastic. I think we're just talking about the popular ones that sort of burn fast and then die out. And then we realize that they weren't as good as we thought they were. Those exist, and that's okay. They're still enjoyable reads. But if you're talking about good literature, you can find it in every age category. That's my personal opinion. It's good stuff. And the people who say it's inherently bad don't get it. And YA dystopian doesn't have to be bad, even though so many entries during the height of its popularity were not so great and I don't think had the substance that other stories had. And I would not include Hunger Games in that category because I think it has substance. I think it has themes that it is aware of. Just give it a chance, please. And I'm talking to a lot of you who are Wheel of Time fans, and sometimes Wheel of Time characters are more immature than these young adults I'm reading about. Sometimes they fight in bigger ways, and I'm just like, would you guys please just listen to each other? And you know what? I would like to hop over to a different book where a 14-year-old is being smart, making smart decisions. So I would be careful with your concerns because, I don't know, it's just, don't knock it till you try it. And if you tried and you didn't like it, that's okay. Don't talk down to people about it. I don't think that's okay. You are not better than anyone else because of something you read. That is just silly goose behavior. And I will not tolerate silly goose behavior on my channel. Anyway, even though I'm a silly goose. There's different categories of silly goose behavior. And the mean kind, I will not tolerate. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are doing amazing and I wish you the best. I will see you next week with another video.